a worrying sign with a long winter ahead.
Just like old times, they know what to do and they know what to say. But this is no friend that's come to visit again.
That lady's on CPAP, as you can see. This young gentleman, he's got better, so he's hopefully going to go to the ward.
The virus, in its invisible disguise, has engulfed patients once more, and weary medics with the bitter taste of deja vu welcome them in, but not the deadly COVID that brought them here.
It just really has ramped up this past week.
You're full now?
Yeah, we are full in the COVID unit. We may spill over into the other sister intensive care unit, which will be a huge geographical problem and a staffing problem as well.
Dr. Cupid is caring for all 8 COVID patients here in intensive care, and there are 75 others on wards.
How are you feeling, Brenda? Are you all right?
He was gravely concerned about Brenda, who's now up walking. At 75, she's no idea how she got the virus.
I've been really careful, yeah.
So it was a shock, really?
Yeah, definitely. I've been isolating for months and not been out.
In the next door cubicle, Susan has just arrived. Are you all right?
Yes. This must be very difficult to cope with. Yes.
Her doctors are hoping she'll improve using CPAP, less invasive assisted breathing. Only one patient here is on a ventilator.
And given what you've learned over the last 6 months, what sort of decisions are these medics now having to make? This lady's on CPAP.
We learned very early on that if you can keep patients on CPAP, and if they cope on CPAP, that probably gives them the best chance of recovery. Clearly, if they need to go to sleep and on a ventilator, then we will do that. But if they can continue and persevere with the CPAP and tolerate the CPAP, then that is by far their best chance of recovery.
Treatments too have made a difference. Everyone here is now being given dexamethasone, the steroid that's proven to help save lives.
This is the first time the intensive care unit has been full since the first wave of the pandemic. As the hospital now fills up, staff are constantly having to plan where their patients go once they've recovered. There are 2 patients ready to be discharged. One's been waiting for 2 days for a bed on a ward.
One of those patients is William, not celebrating his imminent departure, just wanting to find his wife.
If I told you that on September the 27th, which is just over 3 weeks ago, I was marrying my daughter in Blackpool, and then all this come falling down. And my wife's now in the hospital with it. Obviously, I'm worried about her.
Up on the first floor, and one of the wards taking those from intensive care is the respiratory ward. It's also full, not with COVID patients. There are some, but most are here with usual winter illnesses. This hospital is still trying to care for everyone.
We have the same workload as normal, the same type of patients coming in, and they will be vulnerable and at risk as well as the COVID patients coming in.
How are you possibly going to deal with that?
That's we've got good plans, we've got a good team, but it will be hard.
While we were there, Solus Abbas wanted to show us the progress he'd been making. A COVID patient, he's now on the mend, but not all are so fortunate. Jane Hazard reflects on the difficulties in not allowing family in to visit dying patients, and something she's reluctant to witness again.
It's almost heartbreaking if somebody's in the last moments of life and they're unable to be with their family. But we need to stop the visiting to stop the spread. Everybody needs to stay safe, wash their hands, socially distance, not mix. We just have to do our bit.
It's a plea echoed by colleagues and patients like Julian, who despite working in a convenience store had managed to avoid catching it.
Been at it for 7-8 months while the COVID's been going on with not a problem in any way, shape or form. And then all of a sudden, bang, it just gets you.
All the patients here are over 50 and all say they've followed the rules, yet they're the ones lying in hospital and clinicians are preparing for many more. Emily Morgan, News at 10 in Blackpool.
Well, it will be some time before we know if the restrictions announced today will prevent scenes like that, sobering as they are, being replicated across the country. Many local leaders have resisted being placed in the higher tiers of the government's new traffic light system. The Conservative mayor of the West Midlands, for one, was unhappy it was placed in Tier 2. Most of the country will be covered by the medium alert level, meaning it will stick to the current nationwide measures. High alert will apply to most areas already subject to extra local restrictions, as well as Nottinghamshire, East and West, Cheshire and part of High Peak. And the very high level will currently only be applied to the Liverpool City region. People and businesses there are now worried about how they will cope with the new restrictions.
The lifting of restrictions across Merseyside came